Good morning, guys.
We'll wait a minute or so, let all of our friends get notified that we're live, because there's always a little bit of a lag.
Oh yeah,
Let me see. I apologize in advance for extra background noise. Windows are open, and neighbors are already weed whacking. Um, it's funny. When you mentioned this one, I was like, holy crap, I forgot that I have been there twice. Why have I not thought to do this one before? Uh,
right.
hey, Chris. But we were going to discuss the Bell Witch Cave, the in Adams, Tennessee, and the family, which was mainly what the husband, father, and the one daughter. Um, which leads me to wonder how much of this might have been poltergeist, and if there was some like daughter dad angst since it was her and the dad.
Yeah, that's definitely up there in my theories too. But I have I have another one that I came out with based on certain descriptions of certain things, and it was actually I was thinking it, and then I watched something on YouTube, and one guy said it, and I'm like, good, I'm not the only one that thinks it could be a possibility, so I'm not that
Okay.
crazy.
Well, why don't you go over some of the possibilities and the history that you learned on the documentary? And I can go over, because like I said, I've been there twice, years apart. But for all of our new friends, hey, Lori, we're going over the Bell Witch in Adams, Tennessee.
All right. So, um, 2 seconds while I get myself together here. For anybody who doesn't know, a basic rundown of the history on this is the Bell Witch centers around the family of John Bell in Tennessee, as Melissa just said. The biggest time for this um, entity, if you will, the most reports happened between 1817 and 1821. It mostly did take place between John Bell and his daughter, um, Betsy Bell. They had the most experiences. They're not the only ones who experienced things, but they got the worst of it. Um, there's different theories as to what it actually was. So it's called the Bell Witch, but you watch certain documentaries and people are like, it's not a witch like you think of it, where you think, you know, a hag on a broomstick. And I'm like, I don't know any witches who are, well, I know, let me rephrase, I know some witches who are hags, but I don't know any witches who fly on broomsticks. Um, so there's different theories. There's a witch, there is a vengeful spirit of an old neighbor who got screwed over. Um, one of the more popular because of all of the crazy things that happened with attacks and um, there were times where I guess according to pretty much everything I watched where this entity would go all over town. It would come back basically with gossip where it would like, and then there was a day where it literally was said to have given um, or repeated rather sermons that were taking place at exactly the same time, so many miles apart from each other. Um, it was able to mimic voices from across the ocean and speak so many different languages, and that led people to label it demonic. Of course, back then, anything that was out of the ordinary was demonic, period, point blank. Um, I've heard people suggest that it was Asian, which I don't know about that. Um, so nothing, there was very rare instances where something was actually seen. Betsy would see a little girl, and she says she was wearing a green dress, where the father would see different types of animals. And a lot of people even today are seeing, they describe a big black dog with glowing red eyes around the Bell property. And but the dad had, I think, one of the creepiest supposed, now let's say supposed because there's no actual proof that any of this actually happened. There's not actually any true records from the Bell family that it actually happened, except for word of mouth passed down from generations, stories through the family, where we actually have any kind of proof. But the first creature that the dad would have seen was a creature with the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit. That is creepy, true enough. People, because they think that it could have been a real witch, um, he had some John Bell had some issues with a woman named Kate. I want to say her last name was either Babs or Baths or something along those lines. Um, they see these animals, they're like, okay, it's her familiar. But other people are arguing it can't be her because she was alive during the time that this all took place. And it oh my goodness, my words are getting all sorry guys, give me 1 second so I can get my thoughts back together.
All
Um,
right.
you take over while I work on getting my thoughts back in order because they just completely went all their own directions.
So the Bell Witch,
Yeah.
she tormented not only the family,
Mm-hmm.
but other people. So I've put two links in the chat if you guys want to investigate yourselves on here. But a fun note: Andrew Jackson, when he was a general, he and his army camped out in their yard, in their property, and was quoted as saying is like he'd rather take on the whole British army than spend another night on that property with the family. So even Andrew Jackson was put off
So
by the Bell Witch.
that's one of the variations too, though. There, most stories say that is said to have happened, but several people, including people who like run Andrew Jackson museums,
Mm-hmm.
are like, everything that he did as a general, as president, was recorded by him in a journal, and blah blah blah. They've looked through all of his journals and they've never found any proof. So for them, that is cut and dry. It did not happen. But I'm like, okay, I can see why you guys are saying that, but at the same time, like, he is a general. He is the future president of the United States. Would he really want a record out there that he was a scared little child?
Of a ghost. And a fun
Like,
fact: you
I'm
mentioned the sermons. She was repeating sermons that happened in two churches more than 12 miles apart.
Right.
And one of these churches is right outside Fort Campbell, Kentucky, along 41A. There's a median in between the highway, and one of those little churches is right there, and it's got one of those big placards out front, kind of like how we have in Ohio those bronze things. And that was one of the churches that she was like mimicking.
Mhm.
Um, I forget where the other one was, but it's right outside about Gate 4 of Fort Campbell. If you've ever been down there and familiar with it, I have lived there twice, which is why I've been there twice. Um, she also had a run in with Dr. Miz. Another instance, Dr. Miz, a noted conjurer from Simpson, Kentucky, came to exorcise the witch and was mocked and frightened away. Now, I couldn't find a whole lot of extra information on Dr. Miz, but it seems to be a lot of people who have authority in their fields were
Yeah.
chased away by
Yeah.
this spirit.
I
Um,
I think that's something I find so fascinating about her. Like, I feel like honestly, if no holds barred here, you and her would be great friends because it doesn't seem like she gives a shit about anything, and like she's gonna say what's on her mind, whether you like it or not.
uh,
It's said that she taunted the family. We know because that's the reason she's the Bell Witch because she tormented the Bell family is our most famous thing. But she was when it came to John Bell, she said he had to be killed, and it is believed that she in fact did kill him.
yeah.
And everybody says, including his descendants, says that it's passed down through the family that during his funeral, she was singing drinking songs during his funeral. Every time they tried to give a speech about him, she would get louder and louder, and her she would get more vulgar, and she just essentially she had fun at his funeral because she did what she set out to do. She wanted to kill him.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm like, you know what? Listen, you set a goal, you achieved it, celebrate. Good for you. But what the hell did he do to make you want to kill him? Because
Yeah.
absolutely nobody knows why she wanted him dead. Even if it was Kate, they say that she didn't truly hold a grudge.
Hmm.
But with her, so back to my thought earlier that escaped me before it leaves me again. The way that they describe these creatures that show up before an instance where she attacks or something happens with her, and her being a witch who has a grudge, and somebody else confirmed that this is a possibility too, and it's only one possibility. I think it's very possible that you could have been dealing part of what you could have been dealing with was a skinwalker
Huh.
because the way that every creature that she turns into has glowing red eyes. Every account that when I looked up skinwalkers and I was doing some research on that, almost every single person says when they encounter a skinwalker, it has glowing red eyes. There's only like three or four creatures that exist that have glowing red eyes, like that are creatures we have proof exist, coyotes and so on. I think
Hmm.
I remember it was coyotes. There's different rodents, which rodents play heavy into this lore too, because the kids would hear what they said. They thought they heard mice chewing on their bedposts, and then they would light a candle to light up the room. There would be absolutely nothing in the room. There would be no evidence that any creatures were in the room at all. So rodents. The one creature was had the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit, and rabbits have red eyes. Some of them do, so it could be that. But it could be she's a witch. It could be her familiar. People think it's her familiar. Okay, things were seen a lot differently back then than the way we see things now. Obviously, so I don't know. Um, I see in the comments, Dog Man, maybe.
I was gonna say, what do you guys think? Maybe it was just throwing out suggestions.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, this is your guys' show, so please give us your comments, questions, weigh in. Absolutely.
um,
That Dog Man, it's possible. I mean, I think that the Dog Man is a skinwalker. I think that I believe that any kind of Dog Man, were creature, anything like that, they're all skinwalkers. So it's possible, very much so.
I mean, while I was down there, like in the cave and everything, I was trying to feel if it was like a land spirit that just was
Mhm.
just pissed off, right? Pissed off
Oh
with
yeah,
what was happening on the land. And at least while there, I didn't really pick up on anything. If anything, because it was so nature, it's kind of like removed
right.
outside of the city. It was, to me, it was kind of nice and peaceful. The cave itself, it's a cave, duh. It's going to feel very,
Yeah,
claustrophobic, but did not feel anything like, oh my God, we shouldn't be here. Um, now to be, does she still haunt the ancestors? No, like it
yes,
kind of tapered off
actually, no, she does. She does actually.
because I know when I was there, they're like, nothing happens.
Robert Bell, which is a descendant, he is the fifth great grandson of John. Not actual taunts, but there are still some activities in their houses that are reminiscent of the things that would have happened. Um, some poltergeist activity, and I don't know if that's just maybe some kind of not necessarily poltergeist, but maybe I don't know. If the stuff didn't exist before it does now, there's absolutely something now. It's possible that through the legend they did create a tulpa, which we've discussed this 1,000 times. How 99% of activity that we have could very well just be that.
Always be.
But he did say that he doesn't have proof that it's the same creature or the same spirit, the witch, but the family as of like right now is the family is haunted.
Huh.
So whether it's the witch or not, I guess is one thing,
Hmm.
but they do have the family does have hauntings that still are happening in their homes now, even though the property, even the house that it all took place in no longer exists. The property's still there, obviously, but
Yeah.
he was telling stories about his grandma's house, um, and stuff growing up, and how stuff is now happening in his home. So, but that could be anything because they also run the funeral home. So, I mean, honestly, it could just be your everyday run of the mill haunting. It might not have anything to do with the Bell Witch, but
Right.
it's easy for the family and everybody else to assume that it was because it was such a famous thing that happened. So like anything that happens now is it's going to be the Bell Witch. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah. When I was out there, so if you go out there, there is like a reconstructed, little house.
Hmm.
They're guided tours. Let me preface by saying it's a whole different family that owns that area now, and it is
Yeah.
very touristy kind. Um, they're guided tours, especially in the house parts. Um, you are listening to a recording while a member of staff
Mhm.
sits there and like stares at the wall and waits for it to be done. So you walk through a couple of different rooms, and they go over like this is where Betsy was continually yanked by the head by her hair. This is
Right.
the room, and it's all pre-recorded. In the cave, live person, right? Because they need to make sure nobody's falling, slipping, doing whatever. Um,
Right.
but it's not the original house. So don't go expecting to be in the house that this all happened, right? Because I'm sure there are some of you who are energy sensitive, and you're thinking like, if I touch the wall, maybe I'll pick up,
The
a
way
feeling
I
that's going on.
the way I understand it is the place that they're using was is a cottage that was on the property that was moved, but it was used for slaves or farmhands. It
Mhm.
wasn't so I mean it was on the property while the haunting was happening, but it's not where the family stayed. But
It's a
as
big
I
problem. Yeah.
when you look into the history though, it's if you were on the property, you were pretty much at the mercy of the Bell Witch because the
Mhm.
slaves were getting it too.
Yeah.
It got so bad that one of the slaves was being followed. I believe they said that he reported a seeing a two-headed dog, and it got to the point that his wife made him whatever I don't know what it is, but they called it a witch ball,
Hmm.
and he would carry that when he traveled, and he took to carrying an axe when he traveled. And I'm like, okay, so something had that man absolutely terrified.
Yeah, it's kind of the land itself, which is why one of my theories
Yeah.
years ago was that like a land diva spirit, right, who just
Hmm.
didn't want humans, period. And then, as you were saying, how the family, the ancestors are still being haunted, I just keep snickering kind of to myself about like, oh, I need to go mess with them for a little bit. It's been a minute. Let me go smack them around a little bit and be like, haha, still here.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
kind
That
of like
would
the,
be that's the way. Like I mess with your people, now I'm going to mess with you. But
yeah.
I but I'm not going to go as hard on you because you're not worth my time.
It kind of feels more like, oh shit, it's Tuesday. I need to go harass them for about a half
Yeah.
hour, and then I can go back to what I was doing.
Right.
You
That's
know,
what it feels like. Yeah. I mean, I would love to get to that property because I don't think it had anything. I don't think it was necessarily the family. Maybe, but there's a combination of things. I think that it wasn't just. I don't think it was just one entity the whole time. I think it
Mhm.
was multiple entities because um, you have things that I guess could be considered demonic. There's definitely poltergeist activity. You can't tell me that there's not. When the violence centers around two people, when there is 8 to 9 people in the house, there is something else going on. And plus, Betsy was the right age to create a poltergeist. She was 15, perfect age for it. She was getting the most physical, and her dad after that. So, and it's like, so the spirit told you not to marry a man. That tells me you didn't want to marry him. Now you're using the spirit to
As we-
confirm, like, yeah, we're not doing this. Okay, let's be real. You didn't want to marry him, so you made sure that the spirit said, don't marry that man. Um, nobody truly knows why John was targeted and why he had to die. And I'm wondering if because there is the possibility that it was a poltergeist and she was a teenager, and that's usually when people, when you manifest a poltergeist is when you're in your teenage years. Um, I'm wondering if he didn't, you know, abuse her in certain ways. We got to feel. I know that everybody here, I can say it, but because of being online now, you can't say certain words certain ways.
Right.
So a lot of people are just saying SA for
Type of
for what
assault.
he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think maybe he did that to her, and that's why he had to die. In which case, I absolutely agree. But that's one possibility. But there's no. This case is not down to one theory as to what was going on, and every theory makes sense. So
Mhm.
I don't that there's one force at work in this case.
Yeah. So the question that we just had was like, what do you mean by perfect age to create like a poltergeist or to do
Mhm.
that? Betsy was in her teens, pubescent teens, and poltergeist activity is usually created and accelerated with teenagers. Just think of all that drama, emotion, and energetically, like they're throwing that out, and it kind of causes those things to be flying around doing things. So the theory that it wasn't just a poltergeist, it could have been other things going on. Um, is one of the theories that, especially if there was any sort of assault going on, this over emotion that, well, I shouldn't say over emotion, justified emotion
Right.
that accelerated from what's going on could have created this outward representation
Yeah.
of this angst to stuff. And if there was any self blame, hence attacking of the self, like I should
Exactly.
have known better, So
Because
that's what we're meaning.
back then, something like that would have been her fault, not his.
Yeah,
They would have considered it her fault, and that's how she would have been raised. So
back then especially.
she would have blamed herself for it. And it's like, so the justified emotion from that mixed in with overly emotional time of her life, going through all the changes. She's a teenager. Her everything is heightened at that age for everybody.
Hmm.
You add the extra, anxiety, the extra hatred, the extra blame. It's the perfect formula for a poltergeist.
Yeah. So, you guys, if you ever need an excuse to get out of something or to break up with somebody, just be like, the ghost said I had to.
Right.
So it'll quit like beating me up at night and like yanking me out of bed by my hair. So sorry. We call this engagement off. Some of the stories did say, though, that the Bell Witch didn't want her marrying the certain gentleman, and then later kind of like recommended and pushed her into who she did end up marrying. So a
Right.
little bit of matchmaker going on there. So sorry, my do not disturb apparently was not fully set on. So we will just return that back on.
Yeah.
Um, so
The Bell Witch isn't all bad. I mean, yeah, she tormented the mess out of the daughter and the husband, but there's several accounts where she said the wife of John Bell was the perfect woman, and when she was sick, the Bell Witch would sit and sing hymns to her and help her through her sickness. And I'm like, so
mhm,
she hates the husband, loves the wife. is picking on the daughter. So I mean, it's just it's all kinds of wild. I mean, Chris says sounds like a PK manifestation since she was a teen. Which, yeah, it could absolutely. I agree with that too. That is just another possibility in the endless possibilities.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the first haunted locations as an adult that I got to go to, and
Hmm.
was really excited to witness experience something. And as most of us know, that if you've been out on hunts, 9 times out of 10, nothing happens.
Not a thing.
And unfortunately, the 2 times that I've been out there, nothing. And I should say, unfortunate, fortunate, right? Because at the same time, you don't want somebody getting hurt in that cave,
Right.
because it is a little bit of a climb. Not hard, but it's not like it's right outside the door to where if you need to get somebody, like it's fast and
Yeah.
quick. But if you do go down there, it is in Adams, Tennessee, close to Clarksville, Fort Campbell, to give you larger city landmarks, maybe about 35 minutes ish from Nashville, if I remember correctly. So, in that area. Um, but the theories, I think, for this one is fun to speculate because there are so many
Yeah.
possibilities it can be. And I feel like multiple possibilities at the same time.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
Especially if you figure, like, if the ancestors are still like getting haunted, like, is it really the Bell Witch, or is it an earthbound who knows of this and it's like, I'll just pretend to be that because it's funny to me, to get away with it,
Right.
you know
Right.
um,
And another thing that adds to it is there was research done on it. Obviously, a lot of other people did a lot of research on it, and they're they're of course, and it's not a burial ground, but it does have Native American ties because it was a hunting ground that you know you can't settle a hunting ground for
mhm,
whatever reason. So that's part of it too. And I'm just like, you know what? The land is sick of white people. That's what it is. You guys, we came, they came in, destroyed everything,
mhm,
built where they shouldn't build, and they never believed in anything. Like they didn't believe all the Native American lore and like you got to listen to the people who literally live off the land because they know it more than you do. And when
mhm,
you're told not to build somewhere, there's a reason for that. So it's also possible they built somewhere they weren't supposed to, or that they were warned not to because of some reason or another. They didn't listen, and that here you are with a pissed off land spirit. That it just, and I think over time, somebody described what is going on out there as the game telephone. I think as time goes by, more lore gets added, and it because of the whole Tulpa thing, it no longer becomes just lore. It is the legend. Like every part of it is true. Everything they said happened. Every last thing that somebody comes up with as a possibility now becomes what did it because it is so famous. And when legends like this happen, the more lore that you get behind it, the stronger things get for it. And back then, it was so famous that they said thousands of people were coming from all over the place while the family was in the house to try to get a look at it. Well, you're getting all this wild attention. You're getting all this extra power and endless supply of energy getting put into you. Of course, and then as time goes by, you know, people, you said that John had to die. Well, now he's dead. So people start thinking, okay, that's the end of it. And then, you know, the energies that you were given from people spending all this time here focused on you starts to dwindle. So does your power. Well, now Hollywood made a movie. Several books have been published. It's getting more and more attention again. And all of a sudden, people are starting to experience the Bell Witch again because it's getting more energy. It's a new life has been breathed into the legend,
Mhm.
and now it's back.
So Chris says, I think those of us that pick up on this type of energy are not exuding fear to feed them, so they tend not to show themselves as much. So take a freaked out friend, then you'll see something. And Karen's
Mm,
like, so true. Bring a friend. Um,
yeah, I mean I agree because it's been determined and said by several people that when you go into a haunting, the energy you bring with you determines what kind of activity you get. If you go in and you're not freaking out, it's not going to tie your hair to a bedpost. It's not going to scratch you. It's not going to push you down a hill. You know, so it's like, oh well, they're just here to see me. So people, no thank you. But then you give them somebody they can mess with. I mean, if somebody's coming in just to see me, I'm going to be like, I'm not in the mood today. But if you bring in somebody I can mess with, who I can freak out, oh, absolutely, I'm coming at you with everything I got because I want to see them scared. You Hirsch.
uh, and that's a good rule. Melanie's like, I was taught to always be respectful of the other side, and that's a pretty good rule,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Because they're humans, they're just in a different form. Like, people go into hauntings and they're disrespectful and expect nice things to happen. But like the last time I was at the store, I was talking to Larry and I said, treat others the way you want to be treated does not end when somebody dies. You're not going, if somebody comes into your home being disrespectful, you're not going to play nice with them. You're not going to give them what they want. Same thing, it's the same thing when you go into a haunting. You're not going to get what you want if you come in disrespecting everybody in the room. So, yeah, absolutely be respectful. I agree 100% with that.
So, a little off topic, kind of on topic, off topic. So, we have decided that we're going to do these every couple weeks, just to give us more time to research the cases, to make them more interesting for you guys. And with summer, we all have a lot of events and things going on. So, um, we will send out notices to help remember and remind you guys like which Wednesday it is. So feel free to submit suggestions on cases or
I can't.
instances, or if you just have questions in general about paranormal. We can talk about it, go over it. But we just felt like at least through summer, every couple weeks, just to handle all of our schedules and things that we have going on. So, if you come up or think of a case or an instance after the live, feel free to Facebook message, email, whisper, whatever platform you are on. And while I say that, here's the email for the store. Um, but yeah, feel free to send those in. Or if you have personal experiences that you wouldn't mind sharing and want to know, like maybe what happened, what theories, or feel free to send those in there. Awesome, awesome, Melanie. Thanks for sending in pictures. If you have stories and you don't want us to say your name, let us know in that email. Be like, keep it anonymous. But you know, feel free to share without your name. We can definitely do that as well. Um, but yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, Richie, you have your book out now, right? It's officially out or coming out soon.
It was out, um, but I was thinking about some things, and um, I did my meditations on it and slept on it, and I unpublished it.
Okay.
It seemed like the right thing to do for now, but I still have my other two books out. So, I have my journey into the unknown, my experiences with all things paranormal, my a collection of my personal experiences.
Hmm.
I have that, and then journey into the known his. I oh crap! I forgot the rest of the name. Histories and Hauntings Through America, Volume One. This one is um, it. I'm sorry. It's going to be the first of a series, but it's each book has 6 states, except for the last book I'm going to publish. So I think we'll have 8 states, and I picked 3 haunted places per state. The first book, obviously, I started with Ohio because that's where I live. So it's Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, um, Kentucky. Oh my goodness. My brain just completely is checking out on me several times over today.
It is time for you to go to bed from your
Um,
night shift.
okay, so Journey into the Known History and Hauntings Throughout America, Volume 1, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana, and Kentucky. That is out. And then Journey into the Unknown, my experiences with all things paranormal. Also, if in the in between times with us on here, um, I am back on my YouTube now every week. Right now, I'm starting my Journey into the Unknown series. There's episode 1 was put out last Friday, and that is going to be people's experiences that I pull off the internet and I read and I give my opinion. And the Bigfoot book is actually the one that I unpublished, but it will be available again at some point. Um, I decided that instead of stopping at G and doing multiple volumes, I'm just going to put everything in one volume. So A through Z. So I just got to finish the alphabet. But it's going to have this, it's going to be exactly the same cover. I'm just going to use that cover. The only difference is going to be I'm going to take A through G and I'm going to put A through Z. It's 2 creatures per letter of the alphabet. Um, Now, since I did unpublish that book, you can still find out everything that is in it by going to my YouTube channel and watching all my videos, because every creature that is my in that book is on the YouTube channel, and every creature that will ever be in the book will be on the YouTube channel. I did send Melissa. I sent you a link for those, for that and my Facebook, if you can pull those up. And
uh,
Chris, that is coming in June. That's June 8th, I believe.
it is definitely coming up. We've got so many readers. which is a good thing because usually when this event is 5 to 10 by 6:30, 7 o'clock, like we get complaints because all the readers are full.
Oh,
So part of my busyness has been interviewing some new readers, making sure they can,
awesomeness.
handle it and that they're good. So we've added a handful more of readers. And that being said, we have vendors, but if you yourself are interested, or if you know somebody who is interested in vending, we have room for more vendors, because we're no
That's
longer outside. We get to be
Hershey.
inside. It's a 5 ballroom event center. So
That's nice.
I have the whole building. So as much as we can fill it to have fun, the better, because we like this to be our new home for this event. No more hoping
Yeah,
and fingers crossed that the weather's going to be good, which granted we had a good run. How many years we did this outside and we only got rained on twice.
yeah.
Fantastic. But plenty, lots of parking, and places to put more friends and vendors. And I am looking for your link. You sent it in Facebook chat?
Yeah, and the one I think I sent it to the one that me and you and Emily are all part of.
Okay. Well, no wonder I didn't see it in the one
Um,
just between you and I. Hang on. Hold, please.
Melanie, the answer to your question is yes. Marianne will be there. That
Mhm.
is that is I think the big selling point for this event. Her face is all over the event.
Yeah, so she gets to join us for June. She's usually always with us with September. But because it's indoors, she's like, well, hell yeah, I'll come.
Right.
So she will be there with us. Now, the only catch is the venue wants a $5 admission. But to make up for that, we will have a $5 off coupon that we will give everybody to use back at the store at a later date, to help kind of offset that. So the coupon will be good at Goddess Elite outside of that event. So you kind of get your $5 back, but the venue just kind of covering their costs,
Right. Yeah,
with
it's
renting it out.
understandable.
Um, but here is one of Richie's links going up. Let me go back into one of my other hundreds of tabs. I will not say how many. It's kind of ridiculous.
And
Tabs.
and everybody, I will tell you that as of right now, I will be at this event that we're talking about also, so you guys can come see me and get, if you don't have my books, I have copies available in person to sign, and you can come see me too. So, and Chris will be there. I
Yes.
talked to Chris the other day. Chris will be there.
Yeah, Chris will be there. Emily, who isn't with us today because of other appointments, she'll be there reading, so you can meet her as well. Melanie just subscribed to your channel, Richie.
Awesome. Thank
So,
you.
um,
Enjoy.
but yeah, Wine and Spirits is coming up. Wagner's of Westlake on June 8th from 5 to 10. So if you're local, please come hang out, say hi. Um, it's not pushing, you're not obligated to one, show up, or,
Mhm.
pay for reading. But, if you want to come hang out, meet more like minded people, come meet the crazy tribe that, you can be a part of and fit right in. Um, it's always been a fun event. So just a slight change of venue because we outgrew where we have been all those years. So now we have tons of parking and we're indoors. No more talking to Mother Nature like, you will not rain today. You can rain
Chris.
all day the day before, preferably the day after, because we don't want squishy ground trying to hold tents in, but just not the day of.
Yeah.
Um, so Chris says, I will be there doing pet readings and tarot readings. Bring your pet photos. So, and they have food on site. No more of like just one food truck. They have a whole kitchen and they are putting together a menu just for that evening.
Ooh, that's
So
nice.
plenty of
That's,
spaces to sit and eat, plenty of readers, plenty of vendors, plenty of room,
mhm.
plenty of all the things. So kind of excited about it.
This is going to be good.
Yeah, I was already like adding a couple other readers this morning, like, hey, did you check? Are you available? So more readers went up today. Conversing with a few other vendors. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
I'm excited for
it. But if you guys have any last minute questions, otherwise we're going to go ahead and wrap up so Richie can hit the hay and I can refill my now empty water that I forgot to fill before
it.
we went live. Thanks, Chris. Chris is excited too. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's always a fun time. Always,
yeah.
always. And if you come, and if you're a fan of the podcast that Marianne and I did, Wouldn't Go Speak, kind of help nudge her if you want, be like, some more episodes, though she is officially retiring here in the next few days. So no longer doing house visits. She's not calling people back unless you have a Zoom session with her. She'll do the Zooms. But if you are not a person who has had a scheduled Zoom and she's following up to make sure you put the seeds up correctly and everything is out, like, she is retired. So if you want to see her, talk with her, the Wine and Spirits is where you're going to get your stuff and be able to ask her questions. Yes. Yeah, thank you, Larry, for reminding me that it is indeed that Wednesday. So later this evening, 7:00 Eastern Standard Time, Larry and Nick will be joining me to do readings for funsies and to goof off and bullshit and talk metaphysical and flip some cards. Larry, as well as a tarot reader, is also psychic medium. So, yeah. And Chris, if you're available, we can throw you on too. I've been so chaotic, I didn't even reach out to you. Too many things on my plate. But yeah, join us this evening, Twitch only, because it's easier to keep track of who's wanting readings with our feisty bot when the queue opens. But yeah, otherwise, guys, we will see you maybe this evening for readings. Otherwise, in 2 weeks for the next paranormal case.
Yeah. Right.
All right, guys. Well, have a great day. If you're in Ohio, enjoy the sunshine and the not freezing temperatures.
Right. Absolutely.
And the pollen all up in your face, because that is happening too.
That too. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye, guys.